Saturday night streaming, or something along those lines. I don't know. What is up, everybody? This is Jay, aka MultimediaJay. The chores are done, the other stuff is done, and finally I can have some fun in this last chunk of the weekend. Today was a really nice day. Very, very nice. You might even still hear some motorcycles go rumbling by if the noise blocker filters aren't working as well as they usually are. Today was a incredibly good day because the humidity was super low and the temperature was pretty high. So pop the windows, get some fresh air in there, and if you're a computer nerd like me who spends way too much time on the computer, then pop a fan in the window, get that fresh air in there and play ESO and relax and decide later on that you might actually want to do something else, because, oh man, today was probably the best day in a very, very long time around here to just kick back and relax and actually relax and unplug, so to speak, from things. So, the old motto from, I think it was Hack 5, do something offline or something. This is a great day to do that. In my case, though, just got some stuff done in ESO, relaxed to, got some alts, some levels and some things like that. And now here we are to talk about a YouTube adpocalypse that I think is coming here. But first order of business, as we get into some recap here, Foster Grants, baby. Got myself a new set of sunglasses. Get yourself a pair of cheap sunglasses. Well, oh man, so many. That's a ZZ Top reference. Go to Wikipedia if you don't have any idea who they are. They are kind of before my time as well. Well, let's talk about this sunglasses thing. So last go around, these things that I started streaming with and whatnot, they broke. And they broke for one very interesting reason, and it's the reason why I have the autofocus still turned on the camera. You see this little spot in the middle right here? Yeah, well, if you flip it the other way and you look very closely, the camera will never pick this up, not in a million years, even with the autofocus on. That little spot in the middle is actually where the plastic gets a lot thinner, so it's a weak spot. After enough back and forth, it just popped like this. Yeah, well, these were broken anyway, so I had nothing to lose. But either way, they were cheap. Obviously, too much flexing breaks them at that spot, and that's what happened to these. So long. Last go-around, I reverted back to my OG Survival Optics slashers. These are the 2001 model, so I got these on clearance way the heck back when I was in college. And sunglasses were the sort of thing where name brands were a thing, and so I remember Oakley was really, really popular. But these are the OG MultimediaJay shades. These are the ones from the profile picture and stuff. The problem is they don't translate well to Geek House dark mode, specifically because they are shades. I mean, if I just look through my eyes, no. This is like that scene in Revenge of the Sith when Darth Vader is getting the mask put on for the first time. Yeah, they are shades. So, in this kind of environment, it doesn't really play nice with everything already being super dark. It would work better with super bright lighting, like when I turn on the lights to record a YouTube video in Geek House light mode. So I picked up these. These are Foster Grants Walmart special, but they have more rubbery material, and most importantly, the frames are... Did that even show? No, I was pointing my head the wrong way. Let's just do it this way. The frames are a lot thicker. And they don't have that spot in the middle where they're going to break. So, yeah. So these should be pretty good, too. I also picked up a pair of fisherman glasses, which are even nicer because you can't see the frames around the edge because there's no frames around the edge. They have one major problem, though. These are Terminators, and they have a big logo in the middle. So when you get that out to, say, around here or so, and you're wearing them, it looks like you have a big spot in the middle of your forehead. And I don't want it looking like there's some kind of spot in the middle of my forehead, so I'm probably going to try and take that decal out with like a precision screwdriver or something. Maybe try wearing these later because they're lighter and whatnot, but the plastic is a bit more brittle. I don't know if these will last as long as the more rubbery, softer material of these, but this is the sort of style that I've been using for character type stuff for a while, going all the way back to these old Slasher 2001s with more rubbery plastic, which I'm surprised after 20 years hasn't gone brittle from chemical reactions and other stuff. But that's the situation here. The big difference, though, we can actually demonstrate this with the fishing glasses, is if you remember how dark everything was, it's dark here because the way the camera's picking up the light, but I can tell you they're ambers. So they don't darken as much as they polarize, and they kind of make everything a little warmer, so to speak. The light's a bit warmer and things like that. We'll just put those over there. We'll wrap them around monitor number 2 later on. And as for these, we'll just take them to the project area because these have no place in a stream because they just darken everything. Whereas a good set of polarized ambers makes for very good gaming glasses, as well as cutting the glare from cranking your television really high to serve as a light until you get those darn ring lights that have been sitting around forever hooked up. So, yeah, this is the style. I've liked these styles of sunglasses for a long time. Might be betraying my age because I grew up in the 90s, and there were people that were paying like $100 plus for a pair of Oakleys back then. Oakley was the hot brand once upon a time. Everybody wanted a pair of Oakleys. You actually had some money if you could buy a pair of Oakleys and stuff, but I don't know if designer sunglasses are still as big of a thing as they used to be, but quite frankly, I don't care. Little Walmart special can have polarized lenses and all kinds of other nice stuff these days. So I will let the sunglass connoisseurs of the world make that call. But for now, I think these are sturdier than the ones they replaced. And the way I store these things, I wrap them around the boom stand, so they don't even have to be left on the desk or anything. So we'll wrap those fishing glasses around monitor number 2. If something happens to these, then we'll switch out to these. I think I tried this style a couple of years ago, too, for some vlogs, but those were shades. So, or maybe I didn't like them because they were ambers, and I have another pair of these in the drawer of the desk. I think they've got a little scratch, though, so I'll just go with these. All right, the webcam is going to autofocus bug the rest of the night. So let's manually focus this sucker, and let's get into a discussion with some music about the coming adpocalypse that I think is going to reshape YouTube. This is all speculation, but it is pretty informed speculation, and I think that YouTube should be thinking about this if they are not already. But YouTube is overdue, as far as I'm concerned, for change. Some really serious changes. Oh, Winamp is really small. How do I get this back to full size? This minimize window shade mode. There we go. I don't need window shade mode. What the heck, Winamp? Whatever. All right. Let's just make sure the OG shades don't get in the way here. So, YouTube, I think, is going to fundamentally change as this online media scene continues to evolve. Let's check one last thing. Let's make sure that volume normalization is not turned on. Good. And let's see how our levels are doing. We should be at 7% on the ear trumpet. Actually, since the music is still finding ways to be a little loud, we're going to cut it to 5% today. And then we're going to do some discussions here. So, YouTube monetization. Let's actually get some old PowerPoint slides on the screen here. So, I went today to take a look at the channel and shut off mid-roll ads and some things. I looked at some last 365-day numbers, and I was reminded quite bluntly that one of the things that smaller channels do on YouTube in order to monetize is make a lot of stuff that makes a little bit of money, but that little bit of money starts to add up. And so, as much as the tech videos have had problems over the years with ad blockers and other sorts of toxic stuff, even more recently, over a 365-day period, some of them actually were crossing the dollar mark. Now, the thing here is what matters is if your videos are not time sensitive, you make more and more of them, they add up, they give people stuff to binge watch, or in the case of shows like this, stuff for them to binge listen to if they need like something to think about or something to play in the background or something along those lines. You get the ad impressions from that, and those pennies eventually add up. Especially, and it is accelerated if you have videos that go viral or videos that have higher CPMs because what they cover in terms of topics is more valuable from an advertising standpoint. Anything, for example, that can be used to sell something anything that can be used to sell something is pretty valuable to the system. You'll often find if you're a YouTube partner that there are higher CPMs for stuff that could lead to somebody spending money on something as opposed to just being informed about something. Just all part of the value of advertising and the fortunate fact that YouTube doesn't just do a flat CPM like Twitch does. And here's the thing with the flat CPMs and why I'm constantly bringing up YouTube's dynamic CPMs being better than Twitch's flat CPMs. There's a lot of things on Twitch that will take advantage of you if you don't know anything about online media. If your experience is primarily Twitch, you're going to get fishbowled by Twitch. The flat CPM is one of them. If you aren't familiar with marketing and CPMs and what Google is specifically up to with the advertising system, as a Twitch streamer, Twitch deciding to give you a certain amount of money per 1,000 impressions sounds pretty cool. Until you come over to YouTube and you see the dynamic CPMs based on the value of what it is you're making a video about, and how so many topics, if you cover the right topics, the CPMs you will get on ad revenue alone will actually be better than what Twitch gives you as an affiliate. So it's one of those things where if you're inexperienced and naive, Twitch can get away with this kind of stuff as long as you stay in their ecosystem, and they have more than enough of ways to lock you in place with their platform that you're not going to become established enough on YouTube to get monetized, or you may not want to get monetized on YouTube. So, as some streamers have actually said, I don't want monetization on my YouTube channel, I'm already a Twitch streamer, I'm fine. Okay, but you're not going to be able to see some of what goes on YouTube that is actually better than what Twitch does. So, like dynamic CPMs. So, dynamic CPMs are a pretty cool thing. They're a pretty cool thing, and as far as, but they can't be everything, of course. So the adpocalypses. The term adpocalypse refers to late 2010s events where advertisers found out that their ads were showing up on stuff they didn't necessarily approve of. And so what happened was they pulled their ads. And so creators lost revenue and stuff. And YouTube to this day, most recently, had that speech talking about don't reflect negatively on YouTube's brand via what it is that you do, because that could impact the ad revenue that's available to all the creators in the partner program. So, and by extension, the platform. The original name for what we call monetization was actually ad revenue sharing once upon a time. So that's the biggie with that sort of thing. But here's the thing. When I went behind the scenes to turn off mid-rolls, I noticed that even some videos that don't do very well, like the often ad-blocked tech videos and stuff like that, and even the gaming videos that have the same problems, a lot of the stuff that gets ad-blocked a lot, even that could creep up into the dollars mark over the span of 365 days. But here's the thing. We know that a lot of the boost in streaming and YouTubing that has happened in the last year has been the result of the pandemic and its associated lockdowns. People are stuck home, they're stuck home watching stuff. So the last year has been a year in which a lot of creators have seen, things get better, even though people are like, people are going to be out of work, they're not going to be making as much money. Maybe that affected the CPMs at some point, I don't know, but I saw a bubble of activity and also ad revenue last year, even with a channel that's as small as mine. So it depends on what you cover, depends on how binge watchable you are, and it depends on what kind of people you have watching. The appliance videos still smoke the living daylights out of everything else on this channel. But definitely the uptick in everything was when the lockdowns happened. So when does this bubble burst? It bursts when the vaccine makes enough rounds that people start going back to work, restrictions start being lifted, things start picking back up, and people are not sitting home as much watching stuff on the internet. So what I expect is that this year is going to be a year of sluggish ad revenue, and it's already showing up in the numbers. The numbers are sometimes on par with where they were a year ago, year over year, but sometimes they're a little behind. I think there's going to be some notable differences when we get into when the lockdown months were, because we're going to see, instead of the big boost like there was last year, we're going to see things kind of be blah and stuff. It might be more worth it for me to compare 2021 to 2019 instead of 2020 because of the anomaly that was the pandemic lockdowns and all of the associated stuff that goes along with them. So we have that stuff to consider. And then we have to think about just where YouTube is going. The biggest issue I have with YouTube and the ad revenue thing is the right to monetize. YouTube wrote this into the last revision of the TOS. If you are not partnered on YouTube, you can have uncontrollable ads on your videos, which logically, I guess we have to assume may include uncontrollable mid-rolls. I've actually gone to some channels of people that are complaining about this to Team YouTube and getting the TOS thrown back in their face, and checked out their channels to see what kind of ads are playing. And so YouTube has a rather interesting paradox on its hands. Once upon a time, becoming a YouTube partner was about making money. Wow, you can make money off of advertising on your videos. Awesome, you know? Especially if you spend the first chunk of your YouTube existence paying out of pocket for all the gear and all the other stuff you're making videos about. It's nice to start making back some of that through advertising, even though ad revenue has historically been laughable as a way of supporting anything. It even had implications in the dot-com crash, when certain businesses that didn't seem to make a lot of sense financially, but were supposed to support themselves through advertising on the internet, failed to do so. So, some of those business models sound like, if you read about them, sound like they might work today, but they didn't work back in 2001. So, one of the many factors of the dot-com crash was a harsh reminder that the internet is not the solution to all of our problems. It can do a lot of stuff for us, but there are some cases where the internet has its limits. And so, when it comes to making money as a YouTuber, the YouTube Partner Program used to be cool because you would actually make money through the ads that were placed on your videos. But in this day and age, and this is what the thing I have to figure out this year, in this day and age, though, where YouTube has asserted a right to monetize and they're putting ads on non-partnered videos, what the YouTube Partner Program does, it makes your channel more appealing to watch because you can run less ads. In a sense, this is kind of related to a discussion that is currently underway over on Twitch, where there's this discussion, how can Twitch have mid-rolls without possibly putting an ad over something very important that's going on in someone's online games and stuff. And there are questions like, oh, can we have creators run ads so that mid-rolls are not inserted by the system, or should we just back off of mid-rolls? And then, of course, the compromise currently in place is that you can run ads at times that you want to, so that pre-rolls don't run for about a half hour or so. But the point is, you fundamentally don't have control over the ads that appear once you get monetized. You have to take breaks like every half hour or so and run ads in order to keep those pre-rolls turned off. And that's just not the nature of streaming. That's just not the nature of streaming at all. I think that it would work better if Twitch had a way for you to shut everything off for an hour with a longer ad break, as opposed to 3 minutes of ads for a half hour, maybe 6 minutes of ads, like, you know, ordering pizza or something like that and going to the door and getting it, or eat and having supper or something, for an hour with no mid-rolls, or for an hour with no pre-rolls. But the bottom line here is that you have a situation where creators can't control the ads. And so that creates a thing where, you know, it'd be cooler if you could actually control the ads and tailor the experience that your viewers get so they like your stuff more, instead of being constantly annoyed by ads breaking up the presentation of what it is that you're doing. Been keeping an eye specifically on how Nick Nimmin does things. Nick Nimmin, for those of you who don't know, he has a channel on YouTube that's all meta stuff. He's talking about how to become, you know, how to grow a YouTube channel, you know, things like that, how YouTube works and stuff. He also has a live show called Nimmin Live, and unlike many other skittish Twitch-influenced people streaming on YouTube, he actually keeps his streams around. So, I don't get it. Folks, just a side note for everyone coming over from Twitch. This is YouTube. Your stream is basically a YouTube video that's being made live. There should be no phobia whatsoever about keeping your streams on your channel after they're done. Trim them with the editor, because YouTube has a better editor than Twitch in a lot of ways. Trim them with the editor. But if you put on a decent show with decent show flow and you stay on point and you're constantly having a good discussion that's worth listening to, or you're doing Q&As or something, there's no problem with leaving your streams up. People have arrow keys. They can click around. You can put little chapter markers in if you think there's things that should stand out in the timeline. There's no reason to unlist everything. You know, you might have reasons of your own that are more personal in nature, or maybe it was a hangout stream. There's no real structure to it, so it's not interesting to watch after the fact. But this is YouTube. No matter how uninteresting you think something is, there's probably someone somewhere in the world who's gonna think it's interesting, or they're gonna want some background noise, something along those lines. So kudos to Nick Nimmin for keeping his streams on his YouTube channel in a playlist similar to what I do. And that's the thing. don't hide from the fact that they're streams. They were done live. They're not going to be as edited, and in some cases the show flow won't be as good because you don't get a chance to make it good by cutting out all the dull bits. Don't run from that. Just say, hey, they're streams. In my case, what I've decided to do is put the date in the stream replays. So even at a glance, looking through the analytics, I can see that something was a stream. So it's pretty cool, too, to see the streams with way lower views still getting a decent amount of watch hours and a decent amount of ad impressions and ad revenue. Simply because it's just the nature of the long-form element of the content. So there's playlists on the channel page for people that visit the channel page and things along those lines. I don't make any I don't run from the fact that streams are what they are. And I don't want streams to replace videos either. So it's one of the things on my infamous to-do list. Dudes with a to-do list that they don't get around to, whatever. So it's one of the things that I'm thinking of doing here. So anyways, we live in a day and age where YouTube has done this weird thing where, as a partner, the advantage you get is being able to control the amount of ads on your video. So whereas people that are not partnered are going to be stuck with maybe even mid-rolls they can't control, that will break up their presentation. I mean, in the worst cases, I've seen 2 ad breaks on an 8-minute video. You can't do that. Hey, thanks for stopping by. You just can't do that. And I think YouTube is trying way too hard to monetize everything to the hilt. Look, the reason why people are going to watch YouTube is because the content is good. And even if you're not talking content being good, you at least need the content to be understandable so you can decide whether you like it or not. And how do you do that when in 8 minutes there are multiple ad breaks? So like commercials every 5 minutes. I know there's some TV shows that have gotten that bad before, but should we be chasing television in the race to the bottom? If YouTube isn't any better than TV, what's stopping people from shutting off YouTube on their phone or on a computer or whatever and just watching TV? That's the point. I remember once upon a time when I used to brag about video on the internet because the commercial breaks would be less. You get like one commercial and then you get to watch your TV show or something. Or in YouTube's case, you go to watch a video, you get a commercial, and that's it. Not what they have today. Not multiple types of ads queued up. 2 non-skippables, a 7-second non-skippable, a 15-second non-skippable, and then a 5-minute skippable that you'd better be ready to push the button for after ad number 1 and 2 just to watch your darn 5-minute video or whatever that you queued up for. It's just like, no, it's not going to work. And I think YouTube needs to watch the numbers to notice when the traffic maybe drops off or people aren't as interested or the average view duration on videos is dropping off because people are bouncing from videos because of too many darn ads. So your partner today, you have control over the ads, and the ability to make less money is actually the good thing. What kind of a world have we wandered into? So thanks for stopping by, Betta. What kind of a world have we wandered into? It's crazy, you know? And I think YouTube probably knows the writing is on the wall because they have closed the gap with what people used to leave YouTube over when they went to Twitch in terms of people supporting creators directly. So a couple of times I've had people stop by. They really liked what I was talking about. They threw a super chat my way. So even something like a little like $2 super chat or something, or $5 super chat or something along those lines. Some people have done 10s. Even a super chat of like $10 or something smokes ad revenue from most of the channel. And you're talking about ad revenue. You need to get a lot of views to get up to that in the span of a month. So the big thing that YouTube's been missing, though, they do have YouTube Premium for ad-free viewing. But that's a fixed fee per month. I knew from the beginning, because of the difference between what scales and what doesn't, that YouTube probably wouldn't go crazy with promoting that. And if too many people signed up for premium, they'd probably have to raise the price at some point, because you're taking advertising which scales, ad blockers notwithstanding. You're taking advertising that scales and turning it into something that doesn't because it's a flat fee. How do you make up for that? You make up for that via supers. Supers and memberships. People decide they like somebody and they do memberships or throw supers their way. YouTube gets a cut of that and it scales. So people bring over good stuff that people really love, and the supers start coming in and YouTube gets a cut of that. And the most important part is that it scales. That's the biggie. That's what Twitch has been running wild with. But here's the fun part, and I'm just waiting for YouTube to start I hope they figure this out. I'm waiting for YouTube to start making a big deal out of this, because here's the kicker with all the supers and all the ways in which people support creators directly. Even the applaud button that they've had in beta for a year, which would allow donos on videos. And there's like an applause thing that shows up, the creator sees it, maybe they can do shout outs in their next video or something. It's a little contrived compared to supers in live streams, but it is pretty viable. But here's the thing. At some point, YouTube is going to figure this out, or maybe they have it figured out and they're waiting to announce it. But the thing is, advertising scales, supers scale, but with supers, you don't have to deal with the fickleness of brands. You don't have to deal with such and such company is offended that this ad showed up on this YouTube video, so they're pulling out completely of any advertising spend whatsoever. So you don't have the snootiness of companies in play. So that's out of the picture. What matters is whether or not people really, really like the YouTubers that they watch on a regular basis, multiplied by every single person that has supers enabled on their channel, which is one of the big reasons why I believe YouTube absolutely needs to revamp the partner program. So there are two tiers. The current partner program we have will have advertising, but there needs to be a more easily attainable tier that has supers, because every smaller creator that isn't partnered, or maybe it's larger creators that weren't advertiser friendly enough and got demonetized channel wide, kicked out of the partner program. That you really think that people are just going to throw in the towel if they get demonetized, if they get channel demonetized as a channel? No. They're going to do Patreon, they're going to do donos, they're going to do PayPal, they're going to do all kinds of other stuff, and they may even make that part of the sales pitch, like, YouTube won't support us, so if you like what we do, buy my merch and support me on Patreon. Yeah, you'll be hearing more of that. So I guess the question for YouTube is, if you have somebody with an audience that wants to do that kind of stuff, but for some reason they don't fit the mold for the advertising part of it, do you sit there and watch that cut of your revenue walk away to some third party? I don't think so. These are big companies we're talking about. Somebody at YouTube has to have thought of this at some point. So when are they going to make it a thing? I challenge YouTube to make that a thing this year. Strike back at the competition's easier to get into affiliate programs and other stuff by making something like that, instead of being infamously the monetization program that's the hardest to get into. The evaluation period is a year, although I guess you can apply for it sooner if you get your 4,000 public watch hours sooner. 4,000 public watch hours and 1,000 subscribers. And the evaluation period is 365 days, the longest in the industry. Now, I understand that once upon a time they gated that because of ad revenue, so it wouldn't be spread too thin among all the partners. But if ad revenue is what gets spread too thin, make it its own tier and gate that. And for everybody else who maybe doesn't bring in enough traffic or enough CPM to have ad revenue, give them everything else. Memberships, supers, the works, so their audience will support them through something that the platform can get a benefit off of, not through a third party. That's what needs to happen. Will YouTube do that? When will YouTube do that? Who knows? But as it stands right now, it's just a weird situation we find ourselves in, that The ability to make less ad revenue is one of the cool things about being a YouTube partner. Or should I say, the ability for the platform to make less ad revenue is one of the cool things about a YouTube partner, about being a YouTube partner, because you can shut off the mid-rolls and give people an experience that isn't getting interrupted by stuff they end up skipping half the time. And you know what I really hate? And this is one of the reasons why I'm even talking about this in the first place. Don't you just hate it when you go to all the trouble to get good at making videos, you go to all the trouble to get good at streaming, and then you get somebody with less show flow in a 5-minute skippable ad when somebody's trying to listen to you like a radio show, and they're listening to you, they like what they hear, and then it goes to an ad break, and it's this bozo that can't articulate stuff in a timely fashion with this 5-minute dragged out commercial for some service or something that's like public access TV gone wrong. And it's just like, ugh, really? I gotta walk back to my computer and click skip? Really? Really, YouTube? So, I mentioned Nick Nimmin earlier. One of the things I've noted, I gotta look at more of his streams, more of his stream replays to verify this directly. But I don't think Nick Nimmin even runs mid-rolls on his streams. So you're talking 3 hours with pre and post-roll, nothing in the middle. Very, very radio friendly. It'll rack up a lot of watch time, because you're not going to have people like, I got to go hit skip. What the heck, man? Can't even listen to YouTube videos anymore in the background. So that's what I've had to figure out here, is that after a couple, I'm eligible for memberships now. So what I think I want to do is a couple more tech videos, turn on memberships, back off on the advertising, cut the mid-rolls and everything except the most lucrative of videos over the last 365 days. So maybe like set like $1 in revenue for the year or something, I don't know, and see how much things drop. Because it's a situation where you have videos about the right stuff with the right amount of traffic and the right CPMs making a decent amount of money. So that's like mainstream YouTube. But if you're looking at, say, the rise and fall of Tuxedo, I think it'd be pretty cool if you didn't have to keep hitting skip ads or something because of YouTube's greedy algorithms. So the thing is, though, YouTube's got to figure out this advertising thing, because you know what happens? You know what happens if the advertising revenue in one of these programs isn't significant enough for the creator to care about? You end up like Twitch. One of the fights going on Twitch right now, we kind of hinted at it earlier with the whole discussion about running ads in your streams, is that Twitch is really, it's a wrangly type thing for Twitch to get its streamers to play ads during their streams. Well, if ads weren't such a blah part of that mostly live platform, where most of your earning potential is when you're live, because the platform is near broken if you look at stuff after the fact. I mean, we've even found deficiencies with the search engine more recently. When I was trying to search for my own Play Some Stuff videos that are evergreen, made to be watched even years after the fact, but are still on my Twitch channel from 2016, but you can't even search for them. The only way you're going to find them and give them any views is to dig around in the furthest, deepest, darkest back catalog of my Twitch channel. I can put them in a playlist and make them a little more visible that way with Twitch's more crude playlist feature. Manual sorting. Woo! I could make a playlist for them, but I think the clicks and the extra stuff you'd have to do just to watch those would just be too much work. And plus, they're available on YouTube anyways. They're all available on YouTube anyways. I brought them over. So what's the point? And that's the thing. Can I even see that on my Twitch dashboard? Let me actually open up my browser, go to my Twitch channel. Twitch.tv/MultimediaJay. Don't know whenever I'm going to stream over there again. I really can't think of stuff to stream over there. Is it muted? Okay. Creator dashboard. Let me just look at this. I'm sure that there haven't been any ad impressions or anything. Insights. Channel analytics. Where does my revenue come from? Not enough data for us to display. Gee, could that possibly be because my last stream was March 27th? Oh, man. It's April 24th. Yeah, well, yeah, Twitch, you can show me the crybaby. Yeah, you can show me the crybaby icon all you want, but it's just... let's see. Revenue. Can I click that? Not enough data for us to display. Can I show more than... Let's look at February 2021. Yeah, like Prime subs, gifted subs, ads. What was the ads? On Saturday, February 20th, 1 penny in ads. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Nothing really rounds up to anything. View my payouts. Oh, okay, yeah. Got a few subs here and there, but your one subscriber will take forever. If you have like one subscriber as entry-level Twitch affiliate, it will take forever, or should I say years, to get to that $100 payout threshold. Why? Because Twitch doesn't have evergreen stuff in it. You have to... I can't even see what I'm doing here. Hold on. Twitch doesn't have an any evergreen strength whatsoever. You have to make your money when you're alive through subs, cheers, bits, etc. Otherwise, game is off. Unlike on YouTube, where you can have supers when you're live and all the streamy type things, but then there's things like advertising and evergreen stuff and the algorithms passing your stuff around. So, yay! Most of what I've gotten in terms of ad revenue, or in terms of revenue at all on Twitch, is from the 2 times I got a Twitch Prime sub in months. That won't add up anytime soon. So that's the thing. I mean, garbage numbers for advertising. It's confidential internal information, so I'm not going to say what the dollar amount is, but the CPM is worse than most of the CPMs on my videos. And it's a flat CPM, which sounds cool if you don't have experience with this kind of stuff, but once you know a thing or two about how YouTube works, it's not interesting at all. So my Twitch channel is a side project, it's a secondary channel, and it's pretty much a generic gaming channel at this point. You know, some people want me to use Twitch that way and kind of join that scene for like streaming games. Hey, how you doing? Da, da, da. I can do that, but I'm not going to put the same emphasis on being a nerd, talking about the meta and other stuff into Twitch that I am on YouTube, that I am here on YouTube. Never mind the fact that held up my ability to get Twitch affiliate because of not enough concurrence. And that doesn't... And I went in a completely different direction and got Twitch affiliate by playing underrepresented games on Twitch. Woo! Mostly retro stuff. But there you go. You get into streaming, you want to do more streaming, but there's something in the system, like the 3 concurrence goal for affiliate, that actually holds you back if you can't get viewers. And then there's the weaker search technology, all the other stuff that people complain about, while Twitch literally goes after every other problem they can think of except that. Let's make a stricter policy so people feel more welcome and inclusive in this platform. Let's put chat replies in so that stream chat can get super complicated now because it's threaded. Let's have the CEO of the company blow the one and only time he really talks to the user base at GlitchCon by saying he has a cute puppy. Let's talk like a bunch of boilerplate HR snoots in suits about some new harassment policy that's just an iteration on the already stricter one that we already had. Yeah, that'll make Twitch better. Hey, can we have browsable clips? Can we have, uploads that are actually worth using as Twitch affiliates? Can we have some sort of any evergreen anything anywhere on that big purple site so that it can be anything close to the YouTube competitor with the potential it has to, in some ways, even be better than YouTube if that was ever the case? We're going to keep working on all this other stuff that's not technical. Stay tuned for the few times we actually say anything about what it is that we're doing. Hey, DMCA was a real mess last year. Can you make something like Content ID or something so that record companies have something they can do besides just throwing takedowns everywhere? We're going to keep working on making Twitch a lot better in every way except all the ways that it really needs to get better at. okay. Before someone peppers their screen with tomatoes at all those horrible jokes, let's just stop right there. I am the multimedia nerd answer to Fozzie Bear sometimes. Waka, 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 whatever. So, anyways, the reason why we got into all that discussion is because this whole idea of if advertising isn't interesting enough for creators to care about it, you end up like Twitch, where it's this big sumo wrestling, wrangly type disputes or whatever to get streamers to run ads. So it's not interesting enough for streamers to care, so they don't. They'll even run the pre-rolls when they get big enough. Whatever, man. Twitch sells advertising in fixed blocks, unlike YouTube. It's like, what, 15 or 30 seconds, and then you pay a premium for a longer ad? So the thing I mentioned about Twitch possibly being better than YouTube is because the advertising experience on Twitch is a lot more controlled. You don't get gigantic skippable ads sold at auction in the ad breaks on there. It's more like listening to the radio or watching TV. You have a little timer that counts down as to when the ad's going to be over. So even your pre-rolls, like what, 30 seconds to a minute. Ooh. And a lot of the problems with pre-rolls, I mean, if you like a lot of streamers, just use a tabbed browser and bounce between them. Just bounce between them and use mute tab or something. There's plenty of ways around the infamous we can't channel flip on Twitch thing. So at the end of the day, I think the bigger issue is going to be that people are going to have a hard time finding new people to watch because of the pre-rolls. But that's a different discussion altogether. But that's the world we live in. You don't give your creators enough of a reason to care about advertising, they're not going to. That's one of the reasons why I think that the YouTube version of this should be gated, like it currently is. But everything else should be available with a lot less activity and channel growth. I think maybe, if you're consistent and you want to become a YouTuber and you want to work your way up to full-blown partner, you should be able to get into, some lower tier or whatnot of the partner program that doesn't have any ads in it. Get the supers, get the other stuff, and work your way up to the passive income and that kind of stuff. I think that's the only way that YouTube actually makes any progress on this matter, because people aren't going to be held back. People wanting to grow a YouTube channel, heck, I was joking earlier, I wonder if the right to monetize means that non-partnered creators are encouraging people to use ad blockers. Like, yeah, YouTube's got the ads, I can't do anything about it. Here's the link to the latest version of uBlock. So, and I just gotta ask, does YouTube want that kind of an awkward setup where people getting started on YouTube, building up channels, no control over the ads, yeah, use uBlock, whatever, man, and then what happens when they can actually make a passive income off of advertising when they get partnered? They have to do an about face to their audience. Well, I'm partnered now, so the ads are actually going to support me. So do you folks mind backing off on some of that uBlock I told you to use way back when I only had 10 subscribers? So, yeah, excuse me. It's a weird world we live in. And it's weird that YouTube has come to this point where this kind of like making less money, so to speak, is a good thing in the partner program. So that's what I got to figure out. I mean, I've been watching YouTube systems prefer the videos that made the most money for years now, but with things like, for example, Forza Horizon with no graphics card going viral and staying viral for months, and the videos that Rachel makes for the Creator Insider channel, I have to wonder, are we heading towards a day and age where YouTube figures this out and they do this kind of stuff? And advertising is kind of like this neat thing you'll get when you get big enough. But the need to gate the advertising so that the numbers stay significant enough for creators to care about it doesn't stop other people from getting in on other forms of partnership like supers and memberships. Very, very interesting. So I think the days that YouTube has a one-size-fits-all partner program are numbered. It's got to change. There's no way it stays this way. The question is when YouTube gets around to doing this. Let's go over some slides that I made earlier Yeah, Mr. PowerPoint once again. Let's go over these. I talked about these in a discussion a while back, and the discussion was rubbish, so I didn't keep it around. So, historical notes regarding YouTube's monetization programs. Of course, the Adpocalypse that I mentioned in the title is, I think YouTube's going to evolve away from such a huge emphasis on advertising because it has brought so much baggage to the platform that I think anything that could be better, like pushing supers and memberships and other stuff, the Twitch competitor type things, I think that's a brighter future for YouTube than being so obsessed with advertising and right to monetize and crap like that and multiple mid-rolls in an 8-minute video. Come on now. All right. Early YouTube competitors like Rever used to be a rival site. They are named because, you could share revenue. Rever, blah, blah, blah. Beat YouTube into the ad revenue sharing space in the mid-2000s. When YouTube rolled out the same thing, it defeated the coolness of the idea. Rever also wound up under Live Networks, the parent company that owned Live Video, the key YouTube competitor in the mid to late 2000s. It actually was ahead of the game on certain things, like Live Video, for example, rolled out streaming before streaming was cool, and some other things. So a little ahead of its time, but Google threw its weight around, and eventually Live Networks went bankrupt, and these services went off the map because of that. You don't want to see your favorite services go broke because they don't die all at once. You'll see a situation where, for example, something you upload videos to goes down for a month, then it comes back for a month, and it goes down for a month. It's just not fun. And because it's not reliable, nobody watches. So it's game over whenever that first starts happening. So YouTube partner programs started as something elitist, but became more available based on how much ad revenue was available to creators from what had been sold. Infamously, it was gated a couple of years ago. But then before that, though, everyone could be a partner. But the thing is, YouTube being ad revenue only was something that drove people to Twitch. Because donos and other stuff were becoming a thing there, Twitch took notice. Next thing you know, subs, gifted subs, bits, the whole 9 yards. And I think all YouTube really needs for the non-advertising side is a gifted membership. I know from one of their old Creator Insider videos, they were test marketing something similar to Twitch Prime. But the gifted thing, I think we'd have to take a look for that sort of stuff. Despite gating the partner program behind 4,000 watch hours and 1,000 subscribers, YouTube stumbles and other things like ad blockers aid into the value of the ad revenue sharing. And that's the thing. I mean, you have to be massive for the ad revenue to be anything significant, or you need to be making videos that are designed to play the algorithm really, really hard to the point where you're running the risk of getting banned. So I've seen some of the YouTube channels that make thousands of dollars a month in ad revenue and openly brag about it. The reason why they're doing that is the very specific type of video that they're making gets really high CPMs, and they make nothing but those kinds of videos and just change minor details in them. So tips to grow on YouTube, tips to grow on Twitch, tips to grow on OnlyFans even, tips to grow on this platform, tips to grow on that platform. Problem is, there's a policy against video spam and making videos that are too similar to one another that they might be brushing up against by making a channel like. They'll make tons of money while they still can, but if YouTube ever decides to crack down on them or people stop watching because it's literally the same video with only a couple little things changed here and there, yeah. So, donos, and I heard this was a thing with Recful before he passed, began with certain Twitch streamers, eventually led to the development of non-ad systems. The platform got a cut of like subs, cheering, and gifted subs. Subs over on Twitch are paid memberships, similar to the membership feature over here. Non-advertising revenue took off as audiences tipped their favorite creators, contributing to a talent exodus from YouTube to Twitch, among other things. Same thing with Patreon and stuff as well. This is where we got to the jokes a couple of years ago about I can maybe pay a bill with my ad revenue from YouTube, but Twitch pays my rent. That became a thing. That became a thing because you just have to appeal to a small enough group of people that the tips after the splits and taxes and everything adds up to something like that. It was known for a while that it was easier to become full-time as a streamer than it was as a YouTuber, but I think that's going to change with the way things are, especially if YouTube gets the applaud button working to a point where it's acceptable to the mainstream. That's their answer to donos for non-stream type videos. YouTube responded with non-advertisement systems of their own, closing the gap. However, The partner program is still one size fits all with ad revenue and non-ad revenue, and YouTube's right to monetize is placing ads on non-partnered videos now. Seen it show up on Twitter with the discussions with Team YouTube, and I'm watching a few of these rookie channels to see what ads specifically are being placed on there. Actually, I think a couple of streamers I watch who don't care about their YouTube presence might be non-partnered as well. So we'll have to see what ads show up over there when I get confirmation that some of these streamers with, I have a YouTube channel on the side, if they're not partnered, I want to see what YouTube is inserting into their videos and what that's doing to the watch experience. Should monetization be split now that ad revenue is being eclipsed by other ways that platforms can share revenue with creators and non-ad revenue doesn't require ad sales? That's the biggie. You have a whole bunch of smaller creators. Maybe they don't make enough ad revenue to really have been worth it under the old system, so to speak, before it was gated. But they all have small audiences that add up that would buy memberships to those channels or support them or throw tips their way or something like that, and YouTube can get a cut of all that activity. How much longer does YouTube want to let that slip away? Come on, this is a big business we're talking about here. They have to think about that at some point. So that's really where we've come from. Ad versus non-ad, the future of monetization. Ad revenue comes with the baggage, such as ad friendliness, the amount of ads sold. We see with some of the new stuff that's out there nowadays in the YouTube support files that there are certain things where they just say, yeah, turn off ads for this content. Notice they're not saying don't make the content. They're telling you specifically to turn off ads if your video contains certain things. So you may not break community guidelines or anything like that, but it's just not advertiser friendly enough to turn on ads for. So my question is, if YouTube is putting this into the help files, at what point will they realize that they're leaving stuff on the table by continuing to keep everything blended together? Non-ad revenue is generated by enthusiastic fans tipping creators and not tied to anything that is centralized, such as ad sales, ad blockers, demonetization, CPMs, etc., even ad inventory. If someone's watching your YouTube video, learned this recently, from a certain part of the world, advertisers are allowed to target specific markets and demographics. You get somebody from a certain part of the world that's not covered by that, they don't get ads. Or maybe they use a VPN to tunnel through a certain part of the world that's outside those markets, so they don't get those kinds of ads. Or any ads. So the ad system has its limits. There's also, of course, YouTube is not in control of its own destiny here. They have to deal with the whims of the companies that are purchasing the advertising. And if something really offends these other companies besides Google, they pull their spend. Whereas YouTube may have had to limit access to ad revenue for mathematical reasons, they don't need to limit access to non-ad revenue. You get 200 channels too small for monetization right now, but they have very supportive fan bases who just want to support their friends or whatever, throw tips or whatever, or they just really, really like them. Do you leave that on the table or lose it to something like SEPay or PayPal or Patreon? Limiting access to non-ad revenue hurts YouTube by eliminating a platform cut via something like an external dono system or PayPal. So long as YouTube continues to blend ad and non-ad into the partner program is long in the tooth, too restricted, and too limited versus redesigning everything to keep with the times. Here's some examples. As we just mentioned, Patreon, SEPay is through Stream Elements. It's what I use. It all even has chargeback protection to blacklist those bozos out there who like huge donos and then do a chargeback or something. You do too many of those, you trip the system, you can't dono to any Stream Elements streamer until that gets cleared. So there's that kind of stuff that's in there too. So there are some services out there that are streaming specific and they're made for streamers as opposed to more general stuff like PayPal. So let's see, this is probably getting squiggled because PayPal's not properly capitalized. Oh, what do you know? Save. Patreon, SEPay, PayPal, etc. and other non-ad payment systems are competitors to YouTube in this specific area. YouTube not having a more robust partner program that splits ad from non-ad technically means they're losing money to their competitors until this is fixed. May not be video competitors, but how about financial competitors? Money they could get a cut of through a membership or a super or something goes to something like SE Pay or Patreon. So somewhere else that stuff could go besides somewhere that Google can get a cut of it. YouTube's right to monetize ad inversion. This is what we're talking about with the weird world that we've wandered into. YouTube can place ads on non-partnered videos. People thought it would decrease revenue for creators, but it actually could increase CPMs because YouTube can brag about their ads being shown to larger audiences. YouTube and partners win, creators and non-partners lose. People don't like ads. New YouTubers now have ads they can't control. There is no disclaimer like on Twitch about who the ads benefit. Keep watching to support the stream. Don't know if you've seen that a couple of times with Twitch. Maybe it's backfiring and small YouTubers are encouraging people to use ad blockers because of this. We talked about that earlier. Ad revenue used to be a benefit of YPP. Now being able to turn off ads to give your viewers a better experience is a benefit of YPP. So it was originally interesting because of ad revenue. Now it's interesting because of technically less ad revenue. YouTube's mid-roll generator can get pretty crazy with mid-rolls on shorter videos, closer to the 8-minute minimum threshold, as I've seen for myself. And YouTube should be watching the numbers to balance out revenue with whether people still want to watch YouTube or whether these changes are driving more people to experiment with ad blockers and other stuff. So, I mean, this is all, they've got historical notes and things along those lines. Advertiser friendly. We've just been talking about this so long. What does being demonetized mean, etc.? So the question that some people have is why can't they have an answer to Twitch affiliate? They could if they didn't put the ad part in there. And this would basically open things up to smaller YouTubers who haven't hit the thresholds for ad revenue yet, but they still have audiences that would support them and basically put stuff into the system, so to speak. So right now, the right to monetize puts ads on videos. But what if, say, people start ad blocking all the smaller channels? This could very easily backfire. So the only sure way for YouTube, if they want to monetize more, they got to get the smaller creators in on it. They got to get the people with only a few hundred subs in on it. Maybe they have 1 or 2 videos go viral, but they don't meet the requirements to be partnered, but there are still people that might want to maybe hit the applaud button or something, or they go live or something along those lines. There's more supply and demand in advertising than there is in, oh, you have a bunch of people that really like you and they want to support you. They willingly and voluntarily decide to tip you. That has nothing to do with the ad inventory, what you spend, what the target markets are, or the various ways that advertisers can limit where the money goes because of what they purchase. Why should YouTube leave their share on the table? Because the current partner program is one size fits all. The ugly truth is that third parties will pick this up. If YouTube doesn't, supers and memberships are not subject to the same memberships, to the same restrictions as ad friendliness and stuff. So I openly suspect YouTube should be working on splitting the partner program into 2-tiered programs, similar to what Twitch does. Keep the current limits for advertising specifically, but be more open with everything else. What about the ad revenue? Well, it's something to push for because it's a passive income. Unless they get the applaud button out there and more people want to use it. Even if you have memberships and supers, the advertising side is the passive income that doesn't require any kind of tipping. That's the biggie. So, okay, you have a $1 a month club on your channel. Some people join that, or some people do $5 a month, like a tier 1 Twitch sub. But that's still money they have to decide to spend. And the big issue I have with any kind of membership or subscription system is the $5 a month mark is where the networks are coming in, like Discovery Plus and stuff. There are television networks with a wider variety of stuff that can keep you entertained for far longer than someone streaming 5 hours a day. There are networks coming in at that price point. So I'm curious at what point, if Disney Plus, Discovery Plus, and all the other plus streaming services out there for $5 a month, at what point will people start thinking, I can pay $5 a month to support a single individual who only streams a certain amount of hours per day, or a huge network that always has something I want to watch? Or I have on-demand access to the shows I like the most of, and I can binge watch them. That's the head scratcher. So what happens to the people supporting like Ninja or something like that, or the people supporting Asmongold or something, when at the very same price point they have a lot more stuff from a large network with better production value and everything? What if there's a TV show that they like? Who watches TV anymore? Well, you know, maybe you like something that's on TV. And the fun part is, as television studios break away from maybe so much of an emphasis on live, they gain the same strengths as YouTubers. So think like a Netflix original series. Netflix produces the show. It doesn't necessarily have to be tied to a time slot. So they record it and they put it on a streaming service. You can access it and watch it whenever you want. So in a sense, that's like paywalled YouTube almost. Same strengths, it's evergreen. People can watch it whenever if they've paid the fee. In a sense, I wouldn't be surprised if some of these networks... I thought Venn was going to do this when Venn started up on Twitch and YouTube. The Video Game Entertainment News Network TV channel, they were broadcasting live, but I think even then was a little too narrow in their focus. Imagine if an MCN or something created something similar to Discovery Plus, where you sub to a channel and you gain access to stuff you can binge watch a lot of. I don't know if streamers will be able to compete with that. You'd probably just be watching the streamer and, hey, maybe some oiler will gift me a sub or something. But that's really the issue here. That's the thing. People only have so much money, and even at the $5 price point, you got to think about it for a second, because a lot of the networks are coming in at that level, like Discovery Plus, Disney Plus, etc. I even think, what about that bundle, the bundle deal I heard earlier? I think there was a bundle deal with Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, and there was I think it was Hulu actually that it came with. The Disney bundle, yeah, here we go. This is Disney Plus's big thing. What did that cost? The Disney bundle, Hulu, Disney Plus, and ESPN Plus. How much does that cost? Let's go to the sign up page. We're having trouble loading a legal document for you. Come on, I want to see what the price is. The ad blocker on this browser is not turned on, so whatever, Disney Plus. What's the price? Oh, someone actually asked that on Google. A month-by-month subscription for Disney Plus is $7 a month. Yeah, but there was an ad that I saw earlier where it was discounting Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, and Hulu for like $10 or $11 a month, something like that. Just divided by 3, you know. So you have networks of stuff, strong IPs, and all kinds of other stuff that you could get. Just the value proposition there is better than what any streamer can do. That's the thing. So it will, I think, even if YouTube diversifies their partner program so that more people have access to supers and memberships, ad revenue will stay important because it's passive. It doesn't require any kind of tipping. You just have to find out where you want to fall on the spectrum between too many ads and not enough passive income. YouTube can change their ad revenue thresholds without booting lots of people out of the partner program. That's a biggie. The passive nature of ad revenue and dynamic CPMs give creators in the lower tier something to aim for in order to get into the higher tier. And so we have this. This is where I left off with the discussion that you would have supers and YouTube Premium, everything except advertising, lower requirements. And the second tier would be the YouTube Partner Program of today with advertising included. So what does all this mean? It means fundamentally that YouTube evolves beyond their obsession with advertising and all the baggage that it brings with it. Even the mid-rolls, even having too many mid-rolls, we just end up in a situation where YouTube evolves and then the cards will fall as they may. Let's look at some of the costs of some of these other plus services as well, as these networks try to get in on the whole streaming thing. I believe there's even a Paramount Plus these days. Paramount Plus cost. I've been seeing advertisements. Paramount Plus now streaming. Try 1 week for free. Start your free trial today at Amazon. How much is that? Paramount Network, that's a pay thing for your other stuff. Paramount Plus, do they advertise what their price is? Yeah. So all these IP owners, $6 a month. Paramount Plus, $6 a month. Versus a tier 1 of a Twitch streamer being $5 a month. How is Twitch not nervous about this stuff? Of course, there's some people, they really like certain streamers enough that they would do a tier 1, 2, or 3 sub. But wait until this becomes more commonplace. Especially when the attitude is starting to float around outside of nerds like myself, then maybe some of these subscription services are things you should toggle on and off depending on whether you're benefiting from them. Paramount Plus, $6 a month for stuff that Paramount is here. Disney Plus, what's the cost of that? I think we saw $7 a month or something. So you have all the Disney stuff that's available. Netflix is, I think even Netflix might be a little outdated then. Netflix, how is Netflix responding to this? They have some IPs and a lot of movies, but I'm curious how many of these Plus service vendors are pulling their movies off of Netflix so they can have it on their own service. Download shows to watch offline. What are the costs? So the cheapest Netflix plan is $9 a month now. That's for what? Standard def, one device. Have they even made it to? I haven't had Netflix in years, so I just stopped watching it. So I stopped paying for it and stuff. Now you could talk. There is of course Amazon Prime Video, but that's part of Amazon Prime. So if you benefit from the e-tail stuff that Amazon Prime has, HBO Max. HBO Max, $15 a month. That might be a bit too expensive. But you have these streaming services from networks and intellectual property owners and whatnot coming in at like $5 to $10 a month. That is something that people should be concerned about. Individual content creators should be concerned about, which makes me wonder when we're going to have the MCN creators ganging up, so to speak, to try and compete with that. That's the thing. Bottom line in all of this is the world is changing. Yeah, maybe Twitch streamers are high on the hog right now, and YouTube folks with memberships that might be cool and whatnot, but the world will continue to change, and the question is, what do you do when it changes? Or how do you adapt when it changes as well? Same thing with people's tastes changing in video games, what they watch on YouTube, what they watch on TV, if they watch TV, all that other stuff. So, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is what I think is going to be the adpocalypse of the 2020s. YouTube has to decide how they're going to move forward away from such a huge emphasis on ad revenue. Another thing, too, is that if you are inaccurate in the way you rate your videos and too much stuff gets demonetized, you can be reviewed for your entire channel's monetization, which will kick you out of ads, supers, and memberships. So I think that's part of the reason why that guidance is there, saying, turn off ads for this content. Because it's going to turn into a balancing act between the memberships, the supers, and the other stuff at some point, and the advertising at some point. So yeah, adpocalypse meant one thing in the last decade. It'll probably mean something completely different in this decade. And some of it, I think, is going to be different from what we've traditionally associated this word with. So, hope this gives you folks some things to think about. 10:52 at the Geek House. Maybe I can bust out the camera and proceed with some videos now. There's still some time left in this weekend. I've still got stuff in the box, both here, back there, and on the floor. Let's do something about that. It was a nice day today. Let's relax with a nice, relaxing night. Till next time, this is MultimediaJay signing off. Thanks for stopping by.